Welcome everyone to the Hurting Humanity channel. Every year I usually cover the Grammy Awards because it's an easy opportunity to wake people up to the wicked and the evil in this world, and of course signs and symbols that these witches use during their spell casting. Witches and Satanists, of course, who make up the entire list of attendees at the Grammys. And of course there's no coincidences in this world that the Grammys took place on February 2nd, 2025, which is Candlemas, which happens to be a witch's Sabbath, 40 days from Saturnalia, lies, Candlemas. So again, it is a witch's Sabbath, and during this Sabbath, it is a time for rebirth, and it is an initiation in pagan celebration. So this is another deliberate ritual taking place out in the open, and you won't believe some of the things that were going on. Now, usually what people need to see that these award shows are satanic is literally what we saw a few years ago when Sam Smith wore devil horns and had cross-dressers on stage with him. Those are the types of things that make people go, whoa, wow, that's insane. These are Satan worshipers, right? But I'm going to show you right here just how not so subtle they are right in front of your faces. But I guarantee you the majority of people didn't see this as a satanic ritual, which in fact it was. And again, it lied on the date of Candlemas by design. So during this entire thing, I'll start with this. There was a performance. They premiered a music video during the actual Grammys. They went to commercial, and the entire commercial was a new music video from Lady Gaga. And the song happened to be called Abracadabra, right? So anybody out there knows that the word abracadabra is often used by magicians when performing magic. It means I will create as I speak. And of course, when they say that there's a song called Abracadabra being performed, deliberately released this song on this witch's Sabbath, and Lady Gaga, who happens to be a very high-ranking witch in Hollywood, which is why you've seen Lady Gaga go from a musician to an Oscar-nominated actor/actress, whichever you want to believe. Either way, it's no coincidence that Abracadabra is the name of the song, which is a word used by magicians telling you that they're performing magic, and that's exactly what Lady Gaga does in this ritual that Lady Gaga performs during the Grammys on the Witches' Sabbath. And first, let me read a couple of the verses of this song that played for the entire world to see and hear during the Grammys. Pay the toll to the angels, talking about the fallen angels, the ones that they worship, drawing circles in the clouds. Remember, the circle, the ritual circle, the magic protection circle. Keep your mind on the distance when the devil turns around. And then the lyrics go on, hold me in your heart tonight, in the magic of the dark moonlight, save me from this empty flight, in this game of life. Verses go on to say, with a haunting dance, now you're both in a trance. It's time to cast your spell on the night. And then goes on to say, Abracadabra. This is spell casting being done on the audience. And as this is happening, as these rituals are taking place, these words are being spoken, right? Lady Gaga is wearing what? You see this hat on Lady Gaga's head? This should look familiar to you because usually it's in black, but maybe Lady Gaga is using it in red because of the morphing of people's blood with nanotechnology. This is not done by coincidence. Usually we see Lady Gaga wearing that black crown of thorns. So for anybody out there that doesn't know or understand this, I did break it down in Lady Gaga's Disease video, and I've been breaking it down for years now. What you see on the screen is called ferrofluid, right? And people out there need to understand, ferrofluid, when combined with graphene oxide, make nanoparticles. So graphene oxide, think about where we heard graphene oxide being located. And ferrofluid make nanoparticles, okay? So nanoparticles is part of the transformation that's already underway, where people have nanoparticles inside of their body. And Lady Gaga's entire video, Disease, was showing you all of this these nanoparticles, ferrofluid, graphene oxide mixtures inside of the human body and the transformation that was taking place as Lady Gaga was demonically possessed and no longer human. So in this variation, Gaga, instead of using the typical black ferrofluid graphene oxide combination, is decided to use red, which might obviously have significance to the transformation that is now inside of people's blood. On top of that, during the video, we saw little deliberate things that Gaga does, like laying on the ground with the depiction of the upside down crucifix on its chest. As of course, we always see these types of signs and symbols with Lady Gaga. So Lady Gaga performs Abracadabra during the Grammys on the witch's Sabbath, the Candlemas, and of course shows you the transformation that has taken place inside of human beings' bodies. Now, I mentioned, of course, the circle, a symbol that often gets overlooked. The stage at the Grammys is always this little circle that they perform inside of. That's done deliberately because these performers are spell casting when they perform. So the magic circle is a sacred space in ritual magic. So out comes next The Weeknd. I've covered The Weeknd so many times, right? The Weeknd just did this massive ritual where he depicted CERN opening up a portal and demons being summoned from the other side. The Weeknd even has his music video paying homage to Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, that red liquid compound that these musicians are so fond of, and all of these people in Hollywood and politics, all these people in the occult, right? So The Weeknd comes out and they give you an aerial shot where you could see again the ritual circle on the ground. But take notice of where he's performing, because he's performing on top of a pyramid, so to speak, right? If you look closer, you can see that it's like he's standing on top of a tower. This is a common theme that we see, even with all of these, what look like, they're masked characters, these demonic entities below, reaching their arms in the sky. This is a repetitive theme that we keep seeing, but they don't expect you to notice this. They did this at the Olympics with that golden depiction of Lucifer standing on top of what is supposed to be the Tower of Babel, recreated. That's what's happening right now. That's what's happening with AI infrastructure. That's what they're trying to rebuild. They've been trying to rebuild. I mean, you can even see this symbology in movies like Metropolis. It's always been about the rebuilding of the Tower of Babel. Because remember, the Tower of Babel was built in opposition of God. They were attempting to defy God and achieve greatness through their own power. So that is why God confused their languages and scattered them across the earth, which is the origin of why we have different languages and cultures, which is why the New World Order is so hell-bent on oneness and recreating and connecting everyone to defy God and make man as one in opposition of God. So the Tower of Babel, he's doing that on the stage. And of course, like I showed you the picture of the golden Lucifer that we saw, the Voyager they called it, at the Olympics this year. And don't forget, even at the MTV Music Awards this past year that I covered and broke down, we had Katy Perry standing on top of the same exact tower. It looks like the same exact thing from the Olympics. What, is she a big fan of the Olympics? What is The Weeknd copying the both of them because he can't come up with his own theme? He needs all these arms reaching up to him as he stands on top of a tower. No, this has to do with the Tower of Babel. You can even see behind Katy Perry in that performance, like I covered, the portal that you could see openly where there are demonic entities all around that circle. So let's continue on, because we have Sabrina Carpenter, who, as you can see from the images on the screen, is fully compromised, right? Sabrina Carpenter, an up-and-coming musician doing the all-seeing eye, the 666 over one eye, tons of photos, doing all the same signs and symbols we see all of the mainstream celebrities do. This is not because she's paying homage to them. It's because she's paying homage to her god, Lucifer. And you may even remember at the MTV Music Awards, the thing that was most talked about was how Sabrina Carpenter was making out with a gray alien. This is depicting man mating with the fallen angels. You could see that disturbing image, and it went viral. Everyone was talking about it because it was clearly part of initiation ritual. And this is how we know it was, because while Sabrina Carpenter performed at the Grammys, the entire performance started off with her ascending down a staircase. This is a common theme that we see that people look, you could see her going down the stairs, right? We've seen Madonna do this same exact thing at one of the more famous rituals that occurred during the MTV Music Awards, as opposed to this one being the Grammys. But Madonna ascended down the staircase and then with her top hat, her Masonic top hat, did that ritual with Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears that people still talk about. Okay, this is a Masonic ritual. You can see how the staircase is incorporated in Freemasonry. Most images you'll see of Freemasonry show you the ascension in Freemasonry, the degrees that you go up in Freemasonry. So the ascension down the stairs is showing enlightenment, that she has ascended all the way to the top of becoming a satanic high priestess. So the principle of the ascent, it illustrates the principle of ascending and then coming back down once they reach the top. We've seen this symbol, of course, associated even with Barack Obama, his production company, which produced Leave the World Behind, a film filled with predictive programming. Remember the symbol for Barack Obama's production company? It is an ascending staircase. This isn't done this isn't done because she said, hey, I would like to dress up in a tuxedo and come down a staircase, because that's never been done before, since Madonna's done it in one of the more famous rituals that occurred about a decade and a half ago, or just other performances we've seen from people like who are clear MK Ultra mind control slaves like Marilyn Monroe. So the staircase is a very symbolic symbol in Freemasonry, and that was a ritual that took place to show inside of the occult the ascension that Sabrina Carpenter has taken. Now, this is probably the funniest thing that I saw the entire performances here, which is on the red carpet. A lot of times I'll cover some of the stuff on the red carpet. If I see it, some of the outfits, we'll see the Freemasonic checkerboard and all those things. But this is just the one thing I had to point out. What you're looking at is Jaden Smith wearing a birdhouse on his head. Now, do you think that Jaden Smith going to this show where there are all of these people that he probably idolizes who are in his same fraternal club, his DeMolay brothers and sisters, his Freemasonic brothers and sisters, do you think he was like, hey, I want to wear, he was just sitting at home and he decided he wanted to wear a birdhouse on his head? Now, of course, people look at it and they're like, wow, he's just making an expression, right? Because Jaden Smith, remember, is a gender queer and non-binary icon. This according to just doing a search on Jaden Smith. That's what shows up. Apparently, he is an icon for the genderqueer and non-binary folks, and he's known for wearing gender-fluid clothing, like, wearing skirts and dresses and high heels, right? Well, this is nothing more than a ritual, because if anyone out there doesn't know, usually they use a bird cage on their head, which is a symbol to identify MK Ultra slaves. Their handlers will make them wear or sit or perform inside of a birdcage. You probably have seen this very famous picture from the Rothschilds' ball, where one of the costumes was one of these women wearing a birdcage over her head at the Rothschild ball. But you may not have noticed over the years people like Taylor Swift showing you repetition with the birdcage, which shows you that she's an MK Ultra slave, which means her handlers tell her what to do and how to perform, and they are trapped. They are mentally trapped under mind control. Taylor Swift performing inside of a birdcage. It's the same thing with Britney Spears. What do you think? They all just have a plethora of birds at their home? Britney Spears just happens to own parrots and, all sorts, pigeons, and has bird cages around its house. Picture of Britney Spears in her front yard that was photographed for a magazine shoot, sitting inside of a bird cage, right? We've seen even Lady Gaga performing on stage with this giant bird cage on her head. Now, only those with eyes to see and ears to hear are aware of what these symbols mean. I often wonder what the sheeple out there think when they see these things. Do they actually think that this is artistic and this is some type of form of art? Because there's repetition to it. Then why are they all doing it? Isn't art supposed to be like an expressive performance that's very individualistic, right? Well, you can just see the pattern that there's nothing individualistic about any of the stuff that we see, right? Staircases, all-seeing eye symbolism, 666 symbolism, bird cages. This is not an expression. Their handlers tell them to do this, and this is how they communicate with one another, right? So you have Jaden Smith literally looks like he's wearing a gingerbread house covered in graphene oxide on his head. And people out there wouldn't even blink. They'd be like, oh boy, okay, that's a little strange. But there's always going to be some strange stuff at the Grammys because they don't understand this stuff. And they've been trained to think that this is all art. It's far from art. These are rituals being performed, and even rituals being performed on the performers themselves, right? Sabrina Carpenter performing a ritual for you to see its ascension inside of the occult. Jaden Smith likely performing a humiliation ritual by being told to go out in public on a red carpet in front of millions of people with a birdhouse on its head. And of course, most of these people are fully expressionless because they're under trauma-based mind control. They have no feeling. They have nothing going on because they have so many alters created inside of their minds, these split personalities that they create through trauma-based mind control, that they don't even know what they're doing, right? We've seen this with guys like Shia LaBeouf over the years and many of these other Disney actors and actresses that come out and have these massive breakdowns out in public, like Britney Spears, etc., who, again, you see the birdcage symbolism with, as I showed you. So some of the other themes that we saw throughout the show is a lot of as above, so below symbolism, where they show these druid priests, but they want you to think that they're praying to God, that it's some type of holy performance, right? They're all wearing their druid cloaks and they have their hands put together praying up. And then, of course, they all bow their heads down, praying to their god, Lucifer, on Candlemas, the witches' Sabbath. So this was a massive ritual, as they are every year. This was one that I'm sure people saw and they felt uneasy about it, but they weren't able to depict what is actually going on. So the first thing you need to realize is that they have their own calendar. They have their own satanic calendar. It has holidays like the Beltane, like Candlemas, things that they don't expect you to know about because you haven't been taught these things, okay? This is, Candlemas, again, is a rebirth. It is a initiation, a witchcraft initiation that takes place 40 days after Saturnalia. So they were performing a ritual, and that's why Lady Gaga performed Abracadabra. They released her video deliberately on this day and had the Grammys on this day. Abracadabra, again, a word you hear if you go to a magic show and you're like, it's not really satanic, it's just a guy playing with puppets. And he goes, abracadabra, right? Abracadabra. It is used when performing magic, and it has meaning. I will create as I speak is the Hebrew meaning of those words. The lyrics of the song, again, paying homage to the devil, talking about performing magic and spell casting during the dark moonlight, wearing that pointy red hat, which often is depicted as black by Lady Gaga, often wearing it. People think she just likes spikes. Is that what it is? She just likes ferrofluid. She has a home filled with ferrofluid. Well, ferrofluid may be combined with graphene oxide to make nanoparticles, as you saw, again, in that disease video, which is available on my channels that you can go and find, where you'll even see the graphene oxide, the nanoparticles, even electrifying, right? While the Lady Gaga becomes demonically possessed. So the Tower of Babel, another theme, commonly occurs at these events that nobody notices. And we had the initiation ritual of Sabrina Carpenter after making out with the fallen angel, the gray, they call them the grays, right? These fallen angels that they're going to normalize at some time or another. Well, they already have normalized it. Nobody even asked why the depiction of the gray exists. Of course, this goes back to Aleister Crowley and Lam. Nobody realizes it. They think that they just drew this image of this deity that was summoned by Aleister Crowley. And, oh, yeah, right. By the way, this is what a gray looks like. They look identical to one another, but nobody blinks at these types of things, right? So the Grammy Awards, again, you had the birdcage, the birdhouse, a massive, massive ritual on Candlemas. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you found this video informative. Share it with others. Let people know. Some people, it's easy to wake them up to this type of content, showing them music videos. That's what I've always tried to do, is continue to put that type of content out there while also exposing, Agenda 2030, the New World Order, all these other agendas that are happening in front of us, AI infrastructure. But for young kids out there, they're not thinking about the North American Union or any of these other things that they're trying to implement, AI infrastructure, what it means to enslavement and future enslavement. They watch these shows and they don't even realize. And sometimes they see, they're like, whoa, wait a minute. Oh, yeah. Abracadabra, right. Oh, what is that? Why is she wearing a pointy hat? Why are they always wearing those pointy hats? They like ferrofluid. Oh, wait, ferrofluid and combined with graphene oxide makes nanoparticle. Oh, okay. And they just injected nanoparticles inside of people's bodies. Oh, right. And then they just see basic symbols like Sabrina Carpenter, the 666, the all-seeing eye, the staircase, Freemasonry. It really helps people who aren't awake at least start to see the symbolism behind it and realize that it's not art, it's ritual magic. I thank again everybody who's here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.